We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Ay, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Ay, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition AFC North Talk. And here we are. By the way, I'm going to get it out of the way because I know y'all are going to ask Q. It's not coming today. He said he has a previous appointment. Chat to him. And then if you want to support the channel, make sure to check the Patreon down in the description below. Also, super chats are available if you want us to highlight or answer a question. And second/third, like and comment. That's like literally, that's free. Subscribe. That's all free. That's a great way to support the channel. How are you guys doing?
Good, brother. Good, man. Just wrapping up this busy work week, man. So
yeah. How about you, Guru?
Great, man. Excited for not just NFL, man. It's a lot of college slates. You got a Pac-12 championship tonight. Really every conference championships tomorrow. And then the NFL slate.
That's right. Look, I'm not a super big college guy. I like to watch college when there's a good game or when I'm scouting a particular player. But I'm interested to see that Washington-Oregon game. I'm interested to see Alabama-Georgia game. So I'm going to try to see tomorrow. Have a crazy day. But I'm interested to see some of that going on. Okay, let's get it started. By the way, the poll is out there. And we're going to kick it with the Browns, Rams. Q did not come, but Q did send his pick. So I'm going to read Q's picks. He has the Browns over the Rams. Ace, I'm going to start with you. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I mean, this one is in LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's much of a home field advantage. I've been there before. There's not really Rams fans in LA per se. So I expect the Browns crowd to show up there. I mean, the one thing I'll say about the Rams is even though they're not that great of a team, they are a competitive team, right? They do have some star power over there when you talk about Puka, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, I believe his name is. Mm-hmm. He is back and really had a huge game last week. I think that this is going to be a game that is probably low scoring. Just given the Browns defense, and it's going to come down to, I think, which ground game is going to be able to duke this one out. I'm not sure exactly, what Browns roster is going to show up there because I know that they're struggling with injuries and stuff like that. So I don't know if Myles Garrett isn't playing. If Myles Garrett isn't playing, that's a big factor in that game. Obviously, we know about him.
Flacco looks to be the one playing. It's what it's currently looking like.
Say that again, Sonny.
Flacco's the one that is looking to be the one playing in this.
Yeah, Joe Flacco. I mean,
from the couch.
This is this is a game that I think may be a little tough. I don't think it's a cupcake matchup for the Browns. Joe Flacco possibly being in there, as you just said. Matthew Stafford. I mean, not the sexiest matchup from a
matchup.
I'm going to take if the Browns really do play this game without Myles Garrett, I'm going to take the Rams in this one. But I think that this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to health. I think that that's a factor, right? Because you have to have that secondary ready for Puka. I think Puka Nacua is the real deal. Obviously, we know Cooper Kupp is the real deal. But I'm going to take the Rams right now because I just don't know what the Browns injury situation is and who's in and who's out. For me, I'm probably just going to take the Browns. I mean, not the Browns, but the Rams.
Rams. Okay. Before I go with you, Guru, because I forgot that we did have a super chat. It was for Q, but we can answer Q. How much does Joe Flacco familiarity with Elijah Moore help the offense? You know who's going to help? It's going to help Elijah Moore because he is familiar. He used to target Elijah Moore a lot in that offense when he was in the Jets. So I think it will help Elijah Moore. The question is, if it's helping Elijah Moore, will it help to open up Amari Cooper? Right? I know he got dinged up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Guru, what is your thoughts on this game? I know who you're picking because you already said the Browns are going over. There's no mystery here for you. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, Sonny, I'm glad you listened, brother. That means a lot. Outside of the previous pick, Denzel Ward's out. When you play Sean McVay, who window dresses, who does have the running game, and Kyron Williams, who before the injury, I believe was top 5 in yards per carry, I believe top 5 in yards after contact. And quite frankly, a fantasy superstar. Like if you had Kyron Williams and you have him right now, play him. Doesn't matter the competition. He played against the Cardinals last week and looked very well. And what Sean McVay's offense is showing me, if he can have a running game, you can get contributions out of other guys outside of Cooper Kupp. Like you talked about Pakanuka, you talked about also possibly Tutu Atwell. You look at the Browns injury front with Amari Cooper being questionable and not 100%. Wyatt Teller on the injury report. Like I said, Denzel Ward out. Myles Garrett, I do expect to play. But at the same time, we're talking about Joe Flacco, right? And you talked about Elijah Moore, Sonny. Well, the last time that Joe Flacco played, I believe he had 138 yards versus the Dolphins. Remember, the Jets were in a situation where they still could, get into the playoffs. And it was a 9-6 football game. Remember the Joe Flacco versus Mike White game? Whoever.
Mike White was with him, but yeah, I get it.
Whoever the quarterback was for the Dolphins, that the backup quarterback, it was horrible. It was the last game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like Cleveland Browns, they might have peaked too early. And the reason what I say, you look at the adversity that's hit them, you look at the offense now. You give Stefanski a lot of credit, right? Winning with DTR, winning with Deshaun and PJ. Well, you throw Joe Flacco on a road game, even though he's a veteran, there's still continuity. There's other intangibles that he's going to have to, in terms of the game management. And I just don't see Joe Flacco beating the Rams. Matthew Stafford's coming off of 4 touchdowns. Offense looks like it's consistent enough to beat the Browns, man. It's unfortunate because of the injuries. They've come at the most inopportune times. But I just don't think the Browns have enough left in the tank, unfortunately, this juncture.
Yeah, for me, this game is similar to the Steelers-Browns game in the sense that it's an if statement, right? I believe if Myles Garrett plays in health, and he's healthy enough that he's playing, I think he's disruptive enough that will create pressure. That helps the rest of the line to create pressure. And that's when Stafford starts making mistakes. And the rest of that defense is good enough to capitalize out of the mistakes. On the other side, if Myles Garrett's not there, the other guys won't be able, in my opinion, won't be able to make enough pressure because Myles Garrett helps them, right, to create that pressure, right? They're very heavy. He's a superstar, one of the best in the league. So, and with no Denzel Ward, or if Denzel Ward doesn't play, and no Myles Garrett, that's 2 big pieces in that defense. So then a guy that was used to, cover, even if it wasn't zone, the second guy, now has to cover the first guy or is responsible for the first guy. Not only that, Jim Schwartz loves to blitz, right? So that puts even more pressure on that secondary. And without Myles Garrett, you might have to blitz just to force Stafford to just throw the quick pass. On the other side, with Flacco, you almost have to treat him with like DTR. And in the sense that you have to not ask too much, right? You don't want to ask too much about Joe Flacco. You want to give him simple things, deep passes. Yeah, you can have a scheme when a guy will go route and you say to Flacco just throw it deep because he has a big arm still, but that won't be like a stop and go route because that needs timing. It will be more. You see the coverage. There's no safety over the top. You're gonna go run deep, and just Flacco, if he doesn't hit you, is gonna get overthrown. Right. That is the extent of what I see Joe Flacco for the deep passes, and then other than that, simple rack routes, maybe hitch routes and stuff like that. So yeah, it sounds like a cop out, but for me, it's very simplistic because I think the Rams are not bad. They're not great, but they're in that middle part that they can be dangerous if they're hitting at all cylinders. I do believe the Browns defense is good enough to stop them, and I do believe Stefanski is a good enough coordinator that he can work with Flacco. Well, the Browns want this game is to be a low scoring game, right? Like 16-10, something like that. Something in that line is what, if it is 16-10, 16-10, that is advantage Browns, right? And again, the only way you can do that is if Myles Garrett is there, you can start putting pressure with 5, and then your secondary, you can have more bodies in that secondary. Because I do believe the Stafford, if pressure comes, he would throw the turnover. And on the other side, you just need to tell Flacco you can't turn the turn. If you start turning the ball over, then you're done. Flacco needs to have a clean game. Like if Flacco fumbles, throws a pick, then GG, game over. And it's weird, right? Because and we're gonna be talking about Steelers later. And I know Bengals fans, you quasi out, but if you do a deep run, which I know none of y'all are expecting that, you can still make it. But in the case of the Steelers and the Browns, if you look at the opponents you're watching this week, there are 2 NFC opponents. And in theory, if you're going to lose, you want to lose to an NFC opponent and where we are in our schedule. But at the same time, because the AFC is so tight, you don't want to lose either, especially when those opponents, you can deem them as inferior. Now, it's no easy game in the West Coast. But if there's a team you want to play in the West Coast, it's the Rams, especially if your fan base travels, because it will feel like a home game for you.
Yeah, let me last week the Browns had 1 sack versus the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams offensive line, Kevin Dotson used to play for the Steelers. He's one of the highest rated guards in football. And again, Kyron Williams just allows Sean McVay, when I say window dress, stay in the same formation and call different plays out that formation. If you're telling me Denzel Ward's not on the field, I just think that's an advantageous matchup between the slot receiver or whoever's playing the wide. And the reason is because you talked about Jim Schwartz, Sonny, how aggressive he is, how much he likes to blitz, die by the blitz, kind of like a Wink Martindale scheme, right? Bet on generating pressure. And then my question is, realistically, you look at the Browns, how many points they score versus Steelers, and then the Broncos, how many points do you like? I don't think the Browns scored 16 is like a guarantee, bro. And then you look at the dynamic too of their special teams right now. Dustin Hopkins is playing well, but I think punting wise, what is it, Borges? I think he's been very inconsistent. The Rams feast off of that, right? Field position. So I just think it's kind of a situation where if you're not healthy, because the Rams they played the Steelers, pretty tough, and then the Bengals, right? And this was
without Cooper Kupp for us.
Pretty much he came back for us, but I brought that up is because they're going against our starting quarterbacks. They didn't get a chance to go against a third stringer. They didn't get to go against without Denzel Ward. So it's just you or the team's opposing number 1 corner. So it's just something to look at as well.
Yeah, I like you guys have said. You kind of talked about Jim Schwartz's scheme. A lot of that is predicated off of the pass rush. If you don't have Myles Garrett in this, I just don't see how it works outside of that.
Okay, so fan base vote here. We're gonna close it 70-30 Browns. Okay, let's talk while I make this next poll. Steelers Cardinals, and same thing, right? This is a game. I was talking to somebody today. Obviously, the Ravens are on a bye, and they're like, "Oh my God, the Ravens' next 3 games are very, very hard." And yes, right, we're talking about Jaguars, Niners, and in Miami. And I say, yeah, but if you're gonna take one L, I said like I like that 3 because for the Ravens, because if you're really fighting for that number 2 and number 1 spot, then you can take the Jaguars in Miami by beating them. You control that destiny. And if you're gonna take an L, you can take the L against San Francisco, and that's the one that least hurts you. And that's the road game. The other 2 are home. And in the same breath, the Steelers here are against an inferior opponent. We all will say a team that early in the year I felt like it was playing better than, especially on defense, better than what is playing now. Early in the year, that defense was spicy. As the year has gone, they like lost all of the swagger that they have for a little bit over there in the first quarter of the season. Offensively, they're a little better. We can't deny that with Murray is better than Dobbs, or is not playing better than Dobbs. Saying all that, Guru, what is your expectations for the Steelers for this game? I know you're picking them also to win, but what is your expectation for them in this game?
Think you froze for a second, man.
Oh no, he's showing me something.
Yeah, I want Jumbotron. I want to show Jumbotron. So, this right here is not what I wanted. This is another chart. I was trying to show you the cornerback one. Just give me a second.
Okay. You want us to take
it?
it?
No, you good. It's okay. Right here. I just got to go to it. But nah, so the Cardinals starting corners are out, and I was going to show y'all that where they're at already on the graph. Like their corners are already one of the worst tandems in the league. And Antonio Hamilton and I believe Erland Thomas, they're out. So I basically anticipate George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Freiermuth really having another day. Minkah Fitzpatrick is back. This is another full week of Sullivan and Faulkner with preparation, guys understanding how to play at an NFL level, competent type of offense, right? Use the middle of the field, have a balanced run and attack, 35 rushes, 35 passes versus the Bengals. And then on top of it, rely on the defense. Since week 5, the Steelers actually lead the league in points allowed, which is 15. After that, Sonny, it's the Niners and then the Ravens, since week 5, right? And you want to reward those guys. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt talked about one of the keys was they had 40 snaps. They had 40 snaps defensively on Sunday. And what that means is that the offense didn't have a 3-and-out, even though they didn't score, ring the scoreboard up. They really dominated the time of possession. And if you can give a defense that's giving up 15 points a game, 40 snaps in terms of stamina, fatigue, and the ability to be on the field, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, those guys have played, I believe, 5 snaps since the first game because, the interchangeable injuries and guys coming off of IR. So you got a group with an easier schedule. Like you said, Sonny, this is a football team that plays hard. You watch the tape. They had the Commanders, right? Very close beginning of the season. I believe they beat the Dallas Cowboys. I believe they got 21-0 on the Giants. So you definitely want to take care of business. What they say, don't play with your food. But you look at a team that's trending upward. You look at a team that's getting healthy. And with easier competition, you should expect December football to really take it, take its control. 4 consecutive weeks of averaging, I believe, 153 yards rushing. You look at, with Kenny Pickett not turning the football over, longest streak in the league in terms of not turning the football over. Everybody's asking about the touchdowns. You got to understand that Matt Canada was definitely a junior varsity play caller and really making his growth stagnant. So I'm excited for a 1:00 game with Arizona and an opportunity to see a team that played very well in the road. And it has to be more detail-oriented in the red zone, 1 for 4 in the red zone. But not having a 3-and-out against, I think, a reputable and a high-end defensive coordinator, man, was really encouraging.
So do you expect, Guru, then this is a game that you want the offense to show up? The defense, where I think everybody's expecting the defense to do good. It's at home. The Steelers crowd is pumping. So the defense should do their thing. It's not like the Cardinals are putting crazy points since Kyler Murray. They're playing a little bit better on offense, but not crazy points. So the defense should do good. But your offense, we saw Stafford, which has had an okay season, but just go crazy against this Cardinals defense. So it's your expectation, not that Kenny Pickett will do what Stafford did, right? But your expectation is that they look better. I'm not trying to bait you here to a BBB, but that they look better offensively. Is that your expectation?
Yeah, absolutely. I finally got it up. So this is what I wanted to show you. You can see this, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's Arizona's, corners. Right now, those two are available. Antonio Hamilton, he's not. And then come up here, look at Patrick Peterson, Bengal fans, DJ Turner, Mike Hilton, Awuzie. These are, if you're up here, Marlon Humphrey, right, Sonny, if you're up here, you're doing your thing, right? This is separation prevented, targets face. And it's basically letting you know that this is Alcatraz. And they don't want you to come down here, for my brownies. What is this right here? This is showing you that if you're not getting home, if Myles Garrett isn't being Superman, Cam Taylor-Britt right here, I would like to see how many snaps, because I know he was hurt and Emerson's here. So guys, I'm gonna start showing you guys statistics, so you guys we can see it together, right? For the community, because remember I believe we had a corner question a couple weeks ago, top 5 corners in I think the AFC North, and JPJ, the women MMA line numbers don't. We want to keep seeing him. He's going to shadow, Hollywood Brown. Michael Wilson, the young man out of Stanford, is actually out. I know, Hollywood. So
I like Hollywood, but there's not much more after Hollywood. And Hollywood, he's okay. I like him as a receiver, but it's basically right now Hollywood or nothing. It's a tough life to be, because it's not like their running game is popping either.
And let me make this clear too. So if the offense doesn't look or build off of last week, you deem it as a fluke, right? One thing that I thought the Steelers had advantage was versus the Bengals is there's no tape on his guy, right? I can't tell you his tendencies or his second half adjustments. I don't think anybody expected the first play of the game the Steelers to take a 26-yard shot, play action, middle of the field, and fire move. That really softened Lou up. And I think Lou's very well. I think, of course, you don't have Cam Taylor-Britt out, so some things might be favorable more matchups, right? But the middle of the field, Sonny's ace was just like, wow. You wait till week 12, not necessarily open, more in terms of balance, because they were able to run the ball, right? Najee Harris, creating the balance. You were able to use play action. I thought that performance against that defense was encouraging. Like I said, I respect that Cam Taylor-Britt wasn't on the field, but just the fact that you were able to get that performance, they had over 400 yards of offense, and just some of the play calling, it was cool, right? To beat Lou on a 3rd and 8 in man coverage, that wheel route to George Pickens, I couldn't pinpoint that to you on tape previously. So you have to build on that against a team that doesn't have their starting corners. If you do go lay an egg, if it is a 16-10 football game, Sonny, how you described the Rams-Browns game, then we're going to have a conversation, right? Because you play who's on their schedule. But I just want you to know that too. Like the Kenny's, don't look like Colt McCoy to Q's point. Go out there and look like a competent offense like you did on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. This is again, it's a home, because sometimes when you play West, if it's hard, right? The travel, especially on offense sometimes don't travel when they're going West. Defense tend to travel a little more. Ace, what is your expectation for this game?
Oh, come on, man. This is a layup, man. What are we doing, man? The Cardinals have won 2 games this entire season, fellas. I'm surprised that this spread is in the BBD off the get-go. 6.5 points? That's free money. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, come on.
So you're betting it. You're betting it.
This Cardinals team is not good. And they're playing in Pittsburgh. Like,
yeah,
they're not playing at home. They're like, this one could get ugly, bro. Like, we've seen what's been happening with the Cardinals, right? We saw Josh Jobs. They got Kyler Murray back. This team looks like a team that's in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Like, I don't even know why we're even breaking this down like that, because one of their best players, Trey McBride, might not even play. If Trey McBride doesn't play, do they score a touchdown at all in this game? I mean, the Cardinals have been a disaster. This is a team that just was, a year or two ago, like doing that whole thing where they added Connor, they added AJ Green, they added JJ Watt. They were going all in. This team is a shell of itself. I mean, this is one of the easiest games to pick this weekend. I mean, like, I'm not a Steelers fan, obviously, but in Pittsburgh with Tomlin, Minkah Fitzpatrick against that defense, this could get nasty for them, I think, man. I mean, obviously, I don't want to curse the Bengals or whatever with this, but I'm just kind of surprised that the spread isn't at 10 points in this kind of situation with them playing the way that they are. For me, I think if you're a Steelers fan, this should be a game where you blow them out. Honestly, this should be at least, 7. Well, no, more than 7. At least 10 points. They should beat this Cardinals team by. They were kind of feisty, Sonny, but like they always were feisty.
They were.
And then teams just took off on them and kind of spread after that. They're just not good this season, man. I mean, I had to go back and look because I'm like, what's the Cardinals' record? I knew it wasn't that much. And it's only 2 wins, bro. They've won 2 games this entire season. So I would probably say the Steelers should steamroll in this one. And this brings us back to kind of the schedule show. Like, we saw this early on. Like, the Steelers have a pretty easy path to get to the playoffs. I think it gets even easier with the Arizona Cardinals. If you have issues with the Cardinals, I think that's a cause for concern. But I don't see them having an issue with them, especially the way that offense is trying to get things rolling and trying to get things together there. I think the Steelers win this one easily, bro, comfortably. I don't think that they're even worried about this.
I'm going BBD 40-3.
Put it up, bro.
Alert. We need the woo.
400 yards and 40 points, man. It's all time.
I mean, if there's any moment for the Steelers to blow out any team, it should be this one. I think we all agree. The fan base. What do you think the fan vote is, Guru?
Oh, they picked the Cardinals, dog.
Man, they the Steelers 11%, man. I know how these people
Okay, so vote close 60-40 Steelers.
Wow.
That's how you know the Cardinals are trash. That's
exactly
that's the first poll I think the Steelers have won this season.
This whole season, we're at week 12.
The crazy thing is you remind me of something, how much they've fallen. There was a point, not last year, but the year before, when they were 7-0. 7 or 8-0. They were first. Them and the Eagles were there, like best 2 teams, and then they collapsed in the second half of the year. I think they might have made the playoff early or missed the playoff.
That was the year that they played the Rams and got blown out in the first round.
That's what it was. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And then the following year, they were not good. They started a little bit better, and then Kyler Murray got injured, and then the rest. That
was the Hard Knocks year. Remember, we were talking about Kyler and D-Hop's exchange on the sideline. Like,
that's
what are you
right.
saying, one? Yep.
That's right. Yes, I feel bad for D-Hop because he deserves better than what he had over there in the Cardinals and what he has in Tennessee. Okay, let's move to the primetime game this week. The Cincinnati Bengals against the Jaguars. Ace, I know the morale right now in the Bengal community seems low.
Yep.
But you can play a perfect role of spoilers, right? Like the Jaguars, you beat the Jaguars. It isn't Jacksonville, so it's on the road.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the Ravens, we lived this life for the past 2 years, right? The Lamar Jackson basically missed the last 7 or 8 games. And, the Ravens play hard, and then they lost by like a crazy low margin, a point or two, basically all the games, or most of the games. Do you expect the Bengals, if not win, to be competitive enough Like the losing margins are like low, or do you even give them a chance to win this game?
I mean, I think that chance revolves around the turnover margin. I think that's really the biggest path to trying to get a victory. I think against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, Jaguars are a legit team. You know, I felt like they were on the cusp of being that. You know, after Urban Meyer got out of there and they brought in Doug Peterson. You have Trevor Lawrence, who was able to make a run last year in the playoffs. A lot of people forget that he almost beat the Chiefs on the way. When that happened, if it wasn't for a fumble by, I believe, the running back that happened in that one. This is going to be a tall task, man. I mean, it's not a home game. It's a game on the road. You didn't see anything good or promising from Jake Browning last week. Like, if you're looking at the box score, that looks good. But that's the difference between the film and the box score. Jake Browning was very erratic last week, missed a lot of open guys, receivers. He just looked horrible. And this is a Jaguars defense where their strength is actually stopping the run, right? And we just saw Zach Taylor last week run the ball 8 times. 3 of them of the 11 were scrambles, so we're not counting that. This has to be something where if you're a Bengals fan and you're watching this, you're evaluating how this staff responds to the horrible game plan that they put together last week. They pretty much gave Jake Browning the Joe Burrow game plan. You got a week. You saw how bad that it looked. It cost you the game. You're now taking on a Jacksonville team in primetime for everybody to see on Monday night. So that coaching staff is going to have to respond. What are they going to do? How creative are they going to be? Are they going to run the ball? Those are things that you're looking at. In order for them to have a chance in this game, I talked about the turnover margin. Although Trevor Lawrence has been a pretty good quarterback, the one weakness that he's had that has allowed other teams to stay in games that shouldn't be staying in games with the Jaguars has been his affinity for turning the ball over, the interceptions. That is your only choice, or that's your only chance, I think, in this one, is to force some turnovers from Trevor Lawrence. But this is an offense, and Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram is a guy that could kill you, especially after what Freiermuth did to you last week. So defensively, I'm looking at, okay, I get that it's bend but don't break, but man, we got bent out of shape like Mr. Fantastic last week against the Steelers. They cannot allow that to happen against the Jaguars. So you have to not give up big plays. And that's been what they've done on third downs and stuff this entire season, is give up those chunk plays. They're going to have to limit those, especially when you have a guy like Calvin Ridley over there and a runner like Travis Etienne that can bust off some of those big runs, right? So they're going to have to limit those. I think offensively, they're going to have to make it simple. The big thing for them, though, that is something that will help them out is T. Higgins is back. He's expected to play. So you got to go to those Migos when you can get them in open space. I think you got to go to somebody like T. Higgins. You got to go to Jamar Chase, but you have to do it built off of the play action. You have to allow Joe Mixon to be a contributor in this game. They also talked this week about Chase Brown, the rookie. We've not seen him. You know, we've got to see him in there. We've got to see what he has to offer in the run game. Maybe he gives you a different change of pace running back. We'll have to see. Defensively, I think you're also probably looking at a guy like Myles Murphy. The biggest thing for the Jags is they just put Cam Robinson on IR. Myles Murphy coming off of a game where he just got his second sack in limited fashion. You'd like to see what he could do against an Anton Harrison, a rookie, and that's one of the weaknesses of the Jaguars is the offensive line. When you look at them on SIS, they have this kind of top 10%, top bottom 10% or whatever. Their entire line is on the bottom 10%, which shows that they are susceptible to some pressures there. If you have Trey Hendrickson for this game, if you have that defensive pass rush, you're going to have to win the game in the trenches. That is the way that you win this game. But I think you're looking at it from a standpoint of what can this coaching staff do in this moment? Can they get out of this one with trying to sneak out a win? It is huge. As Sonny pointed out, like if you get an AFC win, that keeps you alive. The Bengals are technically still alive, even though I think morale is low in the fan base. I think it comes from a point of the Super Bowl is just out of the grasp right now. Like, even if they win a game like this isn't a team that people feel like can win the Super Bowl, especially with what you saw from Jake Browning in the preseason and last week. So I think if you can try to keep this one respectable, I think that's a big victory. It's a moral victory, but right now we're in evaluation season. So I think that the Bengals end up losing this one in Jacksonville. But if they're able to get some turnovers or something like that, that's a path for them to win it. Jake Browning can still possibly get it done just based off of riding those coattails of the weapons. Can T. Higgins and Jamar Chase playing with each other open up the offense? Because a lot of it has been teams just really focusing on Jamar Chase. Now that you have the Robin back and T. Higgins, is that going to open things up? Is that going to change the game plan with how defenses play you? And can they make plays? T. Higgins is a guy that is pretty much up there when it comes to contested catches. So if he throws it anywhere near T. Higgins can possibly make a play. But that's what it's going to come down to. I think right now the Jaguars, they're probably trying to take this as a win that they can easily try to get to add to that AFC. Obviously, they're competing with the Ravens, Chiefs, and the Steelers and stuff like that. So they're going to show up. But if they drop this one to us, that's not going to look good for them. A lot of people are going to have questions for the Jaguars if they drop this to a Joe Burrow-less Bengals team. But I think that they're going to pull it out. We'll see how it goes moving forward. But like I said, if he's going to be our best friend and Trevor Lawrence's favorite receiver is somebody like Dax Hill or Logan Wilson, it could be a tough day for them.
Let me say this. About 2-3 weeks ago, I don't know if y'all remember this discussion we had. Somebody super chatted, who is the best defense in the AFC North? And back then we said, like, right now, like all these 4 teams defensively are pretty tight. Like, we're talking about top 10, maybe the 4 other teams are top 10. Well, this is the time for the Bengals to show it up. Right? Like, we for all y'all, and including me, Ace, I'll put you there, and Q, we had criticized the Steelers offense. Steelers offense before past week or so, they were bottom of the league. So, but they won those games because of the defensive excellence, provoking turnovers and stuff, and all that. So, can the Bengals team be doing that? That's the question. See, for me on offense, what Taylor needs to do is keep it simple for Brownie, right? Keep it simple, run the ball, keep it simple, no turnovers. Key on no turnovers. And if your defense is that defense, you should be putting pressure on Lawrence, right? I hear all about Taylor Briggs, Dax Hill, and all these young guys. They're up and coming. This is their game, right? The Ravens did it a couple years ago. They lost a lot of the games, right? But they were in it. They were no pushover, and they play everybody, right? And Bengals fans, you know it from that playoff game, right? We started Hundley. There were no pushover. We were a turnover away from leading the game late in the 4th because that defense play like that. Can that Bengals defense play like that? Right? This is their time. This is the time for them to do it. If there's any moment that right, Bengals, we all usually think of Bengals on the offensive side. Burrow, Migos, right? All the weapons. And yeah, I'm not expecting none of that for this game. Brownie starting. But we also hear in the AFC North talk how proud all our teams are defensively. How tough and gritty are they? Can they do it against the Jaguars, right? And I think if they play as a top defensive team and Brownie does not have any turnovers, you have a shot. You have a shot. It's very important to see the play call of Zach, right? Taylor. But even if that's bad, let's say it's bad. Let's say Taylor says, F the run. We're not going to run anyway. We're just going to throw, which is not going to be good for Brownie. It's going to put extra pressure on the kid. I think it shouldn't be, but whatever. Your defense still should be able to show up. Again, we've seen it from the Browns this year for the games that when DTR play against us, we were able to get a lot of points out of turnovers, right? The Steelers earlier in the year when the offense was not clicking, that defense basically hold that team together and push them over a lot of the wins. The Ravens haven't had to deal with that this year, but last year and the year before. This is the time for the Bengals. Can they do it? They have put a lot of stock in their defense, meaning draft picks and talent. This is their time. This is the call for them to be the glue of the team. Be that part of the team that pushes the team to be competitive. I understand it's going to be hard to win. So I'm not saying if the Bengals defense played hard and they lose, this is on them. No, but it's on them to try to keep it close and give them a chance. What you don't want is a blowout, right? You don't want this defense to fold and the offense not to play good, because essentially then both sides are playing bad and it's a blowout. That's not what you want. You want, even if, let's say you don't make the playoff, but then you can build like, man, our defense was fire. And I understand we didn't win because we didn't have 9, but next year, if that defense that fire like that, 9 is back, we good. This is their time to show Burrow, to show the offensive side, hey, we can pick it up. We also need you, but we can pick it up and keep it competitive. I still gonna pick the Jaguars on a close game because I do believe that this defense is better than what people give them credit for. I think Jaguars by 6. That's what I'm thinking. Guru.
Yeah, I agree, man. So the key to the Bengals, and I agree, Ace, is unleashing a run game. You talked about Chase Brown. Well, I think Mixon is more than enough, but he needs rhythm. It's like any good running back. He needs rhythm. He needs feel. He needs touches. I think that line needs to embrace that, right? Set the tone with the front 7 against them in terms of the physicality. But also, man, you want to look at the aspect about what can I do to make Jake Brown's job easier? And running the football, the screens, the chase, that might not be working. Now, if T's out there, you'll have favorable matchups. This is a defense that Caldwell, where they're very similar a little bit to the Browns, right? They bank on their front 7. They try to disguise inside blitzes with Oluokun and Devin Lloyd. And then you look at the secondary. The secondary is actually one of the worst in the league. That graphic that I had up earlier, you saw everybody but Darius Williams pretty much in the lower half of that. The key to the Jacksonville is also stopping a run. Travis Etienne, I believe, has had over 55 yards the last 3 weeks. He does get a little bit all-purpose with the receiving, but he hasn't done anything either. Calvin Ridley, though, 192 yards last 2 games, 3 touchdowns. His play is starting to elevate. You see Doug Peterson using the perimeter, using the middle of the field, but most of all, just using all his eligibles. You talk about Trevor Lawrence turning the football over. Well, this game won't matter if he's actually ringing the scoreboard up. I mean, he can afford a pick if this becomes a 2 to 3 possession game with Browning, especially if he's going to do dink and dunk. The stare down to Trent Thompson. When you had the flat, that just comes with reps and experience. And the good thing is, there's a possibility that you could win. The bad news is, let me show you real quick. It won't probably affect a lot, right? A loss 1.1, a win 5%. Remember the Browns, you'll probably dip somewhere down here. And a team over in this middle of the pack, like the Broncos or Buffalo, probably would trend outward. But yeah, brother, I just want you to know that, again, this win probably doesn't have too much. And I think, like Sonny said, since with those implications, I would allow the young guys to go out there, man. Maximize their development. If Jamal or T aren't 100%, don't sit them because they're pros, but just take their snap count down. Give, the young man from Princeton reps, Charlie Jones reps, see what you have there. Chase Brown, you talked about. Miles Murphy, I was very impressed. Okay. I think he finally showed up. He has more now in his repertoire than just a bull rush. He was able to, really use, a bend and close that gap very quickly because that was a tough play, outside edge coming in for that sack interior. So I'm going to go Jacksonville, probably 21, Bengals 14, just because I don't know Jacksonville if they're going to play with their food. This is a team that last week, remember, the Texans missed a field goal, right? So this is a team that necessarily hasn't been playing their best football. Got pretty gassed, pretty bad by the Niners a couple of weeks ago. So it's just that point in the season, man, where You could develop your talent, see what you have, use the assets. I believe a top 15 pick really justifies the Bengals as they get their franchise quarterback back healthy, and possibly also too. Been hearing what you've been saying about Zach Taylor, man. If you're not that guy, now we know, right? If you can't scheme up Jake Browning, if you're not able to necessarily, we're not asking you to win out. Put these guys in advantageous opportunities. If not, go out here and hire OC. The OC market right now it's unbelievable, right? Frank Reich just got fired. You'll see a lot of more coaches. Arthur Smith. I know here in Atlanta, it's hot in terms of the seat for these guys. So Zach Taylor, the clock's ticking on you too. Not necessarily fired, but you might have to relinquish your play calling duties and bring in a more experienced guy.
Yeah, I think, look, it is tough. Again, we lived this life for the past 2 years for the Ravens, so not having Lamar, so Bengals fans, I sympathize. I know the feeling, right? In the case of the Ravens, the only difference was we started hot, right? And in the case of the Bengals, which is a lesson for next year, right? You can't take that early part of the year for granted. I know because the Bengals tend to start like slow in the past couple of years, but this is what could happen, right? Versus a team like the Browns, they bought equity early. And now if they take a lost year there, they're still in good positions to make the playoffs. Regardless, like I said, if you were that defense, as we talked earlier, their defense is really healthy, right? I know your offense is hurting, but your defense is really healthy. This is the time to show it. This is the time for you to show that you can put the team in the back and make it competitive, right? And it will be crazy for us to say, no, the defense has to win this game. They could. It's not that they can, but I'm not here saying like against the Jaguars that are currently second or third. I can't remember. In the AFC, this defense is just going to carry it by themselves, right?
And it's tough too, Sonny, because they've tried to carry, but they'll make a stop, 3 and out, and then the offense goes 3 and out and punts, and they're back on the field again. And eventually, like every defense is gonna wear down after a while if you're on the field most of the time.
But to be fair, this is what I'm saying. As we were saying that all these defense were close. That's the life the Steelers had. That's the life the Browns had for a little bit there, right? And they were able to keep it competitive, sometimes win. The Steelers, for the most part, won. The Ravens, for the most part, lost last year, but they were able to keep it competitive. And that's what I'm saying.
One of the things that those teams do well, run the ball.
They do. That is key. That is key. And the thing is, Zach Taylor, I'm hoping, at some point you have to it almost looks like he has one play. I think Q has said it. Like the one play is let Joe Burrow do basically Joe Burrow things, right? And if you're gonna be an offensive coordinator, you can't be that one-dimensional. And I understand that dimension is great when it's there, but this is your time. This is your time to show that you can. Again, Brownie should be same thing with Cleveland and Flacco. You should box them, and then we're gonna keep it simple because simple, no turnover game is our best shot to win this game, right? For both of these teams this week. So we'll see. We'll see what we see how this matchup will go. It will be interesting because obviously if Cleveland lose and the Steelers win, then that's a little bit more distance between the two teams, and then Cleveland now is floating with that lower part of the playoff picture. And in the case of the Bengals, if they lose, I think, if not mathematically, they're very close to mathematically eliminated. Anyway, saying that, guys, thank you all for joining again. If you want to help this channel, like, subscribe, comment. I love reading all the comments. We appreciate your support. Thank you. We'll be back next week breaking these games. See you soon. Peace out.